and thank you for watching True News America. We are your hosts, Susan, Beatrice, and Bob.
Breaking news today, the social media apocalypse has begun. Trump's travel ban has sparked furious posts, tweets, and images across all parties.
Do you think people will believe that though if I actually post it?
I don't know, maybe.
I'm Bob Johnson, and you're watching True News America. So recently, President Trump has enacted Executive Order 13769, titled Protecting the Nation from Foreign Terrorist Entry into the United States. The order demanded the suspension of entry to the country to 7 Muslim-dominated Syrian countries, including Iran, Iraq, Liberia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. Surprisingly, this ban did not involve the home of the terrorists that plotted the 9/11 attacks, Saudi Arabia, which of course caused most of the American public to speak up. Many Americans expressed how they thought the ban was unconstitutional and immoral. Much of this outrage came from social media users. Even some people outside of the country took to Twitter to express their distaste with the new American policy, like Kevin Brackley, for example, tweets, polls show 75% of Canadians do not want a Trump-style immigration ban because 75% of us aren't morons who give in to terror and hate. It's like Drake saying that 75% of Nickelback music sucks, a Canadian saying wrong stats about something kind of American. With controversial orders like this one, social media posts like this are everywhere. But with these social media posts come many news articles talking about the topic, like this article that talks about the Kuwait and how they already have a Trump-style immigration ban for the Syrians that was put in place in 2011. The article goes into further detail about this ban and the fear that the people had over extremist groups such as Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group, and how the fear was relieved after the ban was put in place. Surprisingly, it additionally goes into detail on the good intentions of Kuwait and how the ban failed to stop the wave of terrorist groups and left Kuwait named the worst country in the world in 2015. Now, this article received 120,000 shares on Facebook, including President Trump. But the problem with this article is that the whole thing is fake. The only thing that wasn't fake about this article was how Kuwait was ranked the worst country for ex-parties, which is people leaving their native country. According to internations.org, when people found out that the article Trump shared was fake, there came an uproar from people asking how it was possible for the president to be so dumb enough to share news that wasn't even real, and an outrage from those who think that fake news has become so disguised it's almost impossible to tell the difference between real and fake news. But the real question we should be asking is, who knew a giant Oompa Loompa knew how to use Facebook? Even some local articles have begun to take a more national look at this ban. Like Tyler Westone, an award-winning journalist for Fox News, has taken a very widespread approach interviewing people from the different parts of the country. Westone dives into what we're all thinking, which is the opinion that are formed by different groups of people, but he just brings it into light, like celebrity relationships. We all know about them and what they are, but no one really wants to talk about them. We're cutting that out, right?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, with this article, the worries from political groups become evident, becoming worried about the future of immigration policies. Locals becoming worried about what this means for the future of America, and a more random group having a more personal and family concern about the ban. But not all articles have the amount of public variety that is shown in Westone's writing. Like this one like this article written by the Al Jazeera company, attempting to destroy this dangerous distraction and making sure that Trump's deeper agenda doesn't see the light of day. But let's be honest, this article is like the North Korea of articles. They act threatening, but really no one cares. But really, social media is like the North Korea of everything, because no one really cares.
I couldn't agree more, Bob.
Bob Johnson.
Anyone can fall to this fake news epidemic, and nowhere more obvious than social media. If you live in the United States, you are more than likely to hear or see the social media conflicts going on. whether Trump should just stop tweeting. I mean, he is a little old for Twitter. Or the left is claiming the travel ban is a Muslim ban. Regardless of what you call the ban, are the Facebook and Twitter posts worth the attention? Jackie Esposito, a woman who thought it would be a good idea to post that she should be at airports protesting the travel ban, Jackie started over a dozen protests, all at different airports. Maybe after this, I'll tweet it is a fantastic idea to chant 7 for 27 every day of the year, and I might just get my wish. Oh, and here's another good one. Dan Axelrod's genius comment on an article about liberals misleading the ban. Dan claims the countries in the ban are shitholes without a functioning government. Wait, seriously? No government? Like, what about Sudan?
I don't know.
Wait, Sudan like the car? Are those banned too? I'm gonna find out for myself. Hey Siri, what kind of government does Sudan have?
Okay, I found this on the web for what kind of government does Sudan have.
Based on a simple little Siri search, it says a federal union of states and provinces with a Republican form of government. So, I will give him the benefit of the doubt and say he does not have the greatest resource of Siri. I mean, she is the smartest of them all. She is a woman. I'm just kidding. Things I see on the internet never fail to surprise me. Imagine my reaction when I read the title, All Terrorists Are Muslims. What the heck? Robert Rapier wrote about the constant appearing, ridiculous, out of line, irrelevant posts about the ban. Rapier saw a comment claiming not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. May I remind you? Okay. I must be a little off with my religions. If all terrorists are Muslims, why would Trump only ban those 7 specific countries then? 42. Just 42. I thought that was a good one. Anyways, by putting out on the internet that every person to do an act of terrorism is Muslim, that could cause some wars. But I mean, who knows and who cares, right? Speaking of putting out accurate information, which all news articles provide, Hoyer now believes that the travel ban is a religious test. Penny Starr, who disagrees, wrote on CNS News that all the president is simply doing is protecting the country. Hoyer then responded with the First Amendment violation. I did not see a response from Starr regarding the violation at all. I was left to assume Hoyer had won this argument. I don't know, but if I were Starr, I would provide the First Amendment and tell him otherwise. I guess this leaves me here to the president himself. Clearly, well, since he was able to become president, he's doing A-okay. But are his tweets? The president of the United States and Twitter goes together like olives and donuts. They don't. Lawrence Hurley and Roberta Rampton report that Democrats and other critics have called Trump's comments toward the judiciary an attack on a core principle of American democracy, that the courts are independent and uphold the rule of law. Sure, what a great neutral article just stating the facts. But who said it again? I can't seem to find it. Do you know who said it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so what? They didn't supply any names of those Democrats, but they said it for sure. Regardless of where I find my information or who I read it from, it must be correct. News outlets would never provide false or biased information. I mean, all they do is state facts. Kind of like when my grandparents ask me how school is going. You have straight A's? Well, of course I do, Grandma.
So after all that fallout on social media, where are we now? Well, people on social media weren't the only ones with an intense reaction. A judge in Washington filed a stay against the order on the grounds that the ban unconstitutionally and illegally stranded its residents abroad, split their families, restricted their travel, and damaged the state's economy and public universities in violation of the First and Fifth Amendments, the INA, the Foreign Affairs Reform and Restructuring Act, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and the Administrative Procedure Act. This means that the travel ban will no longer be enforced, and travelers to the U.S. will be free to travel as they please until the Trump administration makes their next move. Trump immediately responded on social media, saying, "See you in court, the security of our nation is at stake." Many took this to imply that the Trump administration would be taking the case all the way up to the Supreme Court. However, at the time of this production, the order was instead rewritten to abide by the Ninth Circuit's issues with it. The reporting on the Ninth Circuit decision was varied in its response, but many news outlets failed to properly represent the issue in all of its facets, to the point where some reports were actively spreading misinformation. Fox News, for example, did a poor job reporting on the issue. Take a look at this article. This Von Spunk dude just goes around quoting US code laws while ignoring the context to said laws, like the fact that when it was passed, the president himself called it unconstitutional. Even if something is legally sound, moral value still needs to be considered. Like, seriously, dude, what were you thinking? Oh, I think I know. I'm a legal fellow who studied the US laws. I can misrepresent information to my audience with no consequences. And you know what? With the way modern reporting works, he's right. All too often we take a citation of sources as a form of credibility, even if the source isn't credible, or even worse, made up entirely. A Harvard study found that 2016 was the year where fake news was spread the most on social media, claiming thousands of victims in its vicious and toxic grasp. Except Harvard didn't. That study never happened. But I'm sure there's a percentage of people who believe that it had because we take an attempt at credibility, like saying a study happened, as evidence of credibility. Fox News isn't the only one with a biased report on the issue. CNN wrote an article reporting on the Ninth Circuit travel ban, even providing the original write-up of the Ninth Circuit's decision. Now, I know what you're saying. They provided a primary source and got their evidence from there. They must be pretty reliable. Surely this means I can trust this article. But it's never that easy. This stupid article has plenty of bias. The article says stuff like, his White House, his being Trump. The tone of the entire article conveys Trump as a separate entity who is against the very nature of American politics, saying, the court case represented the first confrontation between his White House and the checks and balances of the American political system. This paints a picture of the Trump administration acting against American politics, when in reality, all of the branches, from executive to congressional to judicial, need to work together to keep America successful as a nation. This biased language encourages polarization among ideologies and doesn't belong in a news report that is supposed to remain objective. It is fine to have opinions. It is not fine to fail to separate what is your opinion and what is fact when you are held to a standard of truth like in journalism. Additionally, it implies that Trump specifically is against this. There always has been and always will be a conflict of interest between the branches of American government. Our Constitution created a system to monitor this conflict of interest. It is the very checks and balances mentioned previously. This is nothing new. In 1951, the case Danes and Moore versus Reagan occurred, which dealt with whether President Jimmy Carter's executive order that froze Iranian assets in the U.S. was constitutional. It is not unordinary for a president to sign executive orders, and it is not unique to Trump to have an executive order go to court. Also, this article fails to cite its sources. Take this passage. Bottom line, this is a complete victory for the state of Washington, said State Attorney General Bob Ferguson. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in a unanimous decision, effectively granted everything we sought. There is no information given before or after this that could help a reader fact-check where Ferguson said this. Indeed, the closest thing I was able to find was an NPR interview with Ferguson, and in it, Ferguson doesn't say a single word that CNN quoted. This just in, biased articles' reach further spread through reposting. You heard right, folks, the flawed CNN article has been republished on a Los Angeles local news site. KTLA 5 republished the article in its entirety, with no credit given. Citizens of Los Angeles, watch out. You can't avoid the bias, no matter how hard you try. As you can see, this is a real problem. Having biased language and misrepresenting an individual on a small scale might not seem like a devastating occurrence, but it truly does contribute to misinformation and fake news. It's like a big game of telephone. The news will get copied and misconstrued and spread until it doesn't even resemble its original form. Where can these effects be seen? Social media. We already took a look at Trump's reaction on social media. He wasn't the only one who was excited. Monaghan's comment is an inflammatory celebration of the Ninth Circuit decision that fails to provide well-reasoned critique, relying on personal attacks, hashtags, and emojis to make her point that Trump is an oppressor who has lost and does not have much power. Others view the Ninth Circuit decision as a massive threat to national security, such as user Amdbum on Twitter. And user iYedlin believes Donald Trump needs to be impeached. These visceral reactions are fueled by biased and flawed reporting across issues. The American people are angry, and mainstream journalists are failing to fulfill their responsibilities as reporters of the ultimate truth.
To sum it up, 1. Always accept bias in everything you read and see, along with this broadcast.
Number 2, absolutely do not do any research before you look like an idiot on social media.
Number 3, I'm Bob Johnson. Nickelback still sucks as a band, and check in for us tomorrow to see some more absolute trash. I mean, true news.